everyone, we're glad to welcome you to our SAP Tech Talks webinar. A few words regarding the event organization. The webinar will be recorded and then posted on our YouTube channel. You may ask all your questions in the Q&A field. Our today's speaker is Yegor Pozdnikov, and the topic of his webinar is Navigating SAP Warehouse Management Solutions. Yegor, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Igor. I'm here in EPAM, the head of SAP Supply Chain Management discipline. And besides other SAP solutions like Transportation Management, IBP, I'm also leading SAP EWM stream. A little bit about myself. I have something like 10 years hands-on experience of real EWM projects implementations. And why we are here today. Actually, thank you everyone for that you find the time to join. Why we are here, I want to share my experience, share my knowledge of SAP about SAP Warehouse Management Solutions. So the first part of today's meeting will be a high-level overview of warehouse management solutions provided by SAP. We will talk a little bit why we have more than one of them and what's the difference, why it's happened like this. And second part, little bit more important for me is my experience sharing. I'll try to tell you something you couldn't find like easily in the internet, some lessons learned from the real warehouse management projects implementations. And we would have some time for questions and answers. So let's start. I think I hope that today lecture wouldn't be really technical, deeply technical. I want it to be fun and interesting for a broad audience. So let's just talk about what we have here and why it's like this. There are two ways how we can talk about these solutions. And to have the clear picture, we should, I think, use both options. The first one is kind of look through the evolutions of the system, how it's started and where are we are now. And second path is to look at technical advantages of each solution and describe why the difference, what are the differences. And this information, like broadly, are in the internet. You can easily find it. But the thing is that all we are talking about is relevant up to the time I created this presentation, because the products are being developed and everything we are talking about today could be a little bit different in a few months and a few weeks. That's why we are not going to focus on real functional, on real technical stuff. We just will talk about how these solutions were, like from where it started, where are we now, and where SAP is going. That first warehouse management solution was a part of module in SAP R2. It was quite powerful and nice solution being developed for 10 more years. And in the end of its life cycle, it was placed in logistic execution platform with other SAP logistics solutions. And due to open source information in the internet, for example, Gartner research, we can see, we know now that it's something like 1,000 instances of this LEVM solution still been running for different clients. But the time is moving forward. Doesn't depend on whether we want to do it or not. And business is growing and new requirements appeared, some complex processes. And for this complexity, this solution, even in the beginning of last century, it was clear couldn't satisfy such requirements. That's why SAP bring the new solution to the market, which go on the new platform, which calls EWM, Extended Warehouse Management, comparing to just warehouse management, which has some heritage from the previous solution. So even some tables has some kind of the same naming, little bit, but it's completely new on the new stack of technologies. It's more object-oriented than the previous one, and this solution, all new features, all new things which were delivered by SAP in the warehousing was as a part of this solution. And it's then was moved from SCM platform. The last version based on SCM platform was CWM 9.5. Like 5 years ago, it was introduced, and then EWM was moved by SAP to S/4HANA platform, and this is the current solution which SAP is selling right now. Technically, actually, it's the same as classical EWM, mostly. Yeah, of course, it has some minor differences and some new features was introduced, but it's like the full, kind of, not the copy, but the child of EWM SCM solution. And we're going to talk about each of them, but to do this, I should actually go against my conscience a little bit and do some simplification. We need here, just for the aims of this meeting, we need here to understand each other. I will try to introduce kind of indicative parameters for warehouse and the project's complexity estimation, because sometimes I would be saying something like small warehouse, big warehouse, middle warehouse, and of course, for the broad audience, it's not clear what actually I mean. Disclaimer here that every business is unique, and of course, each warehouse is unique, and you cannot distinguish them this way in real life, but we have to start somewhere from. So let's, for our understanding, the small warehouse will be something like the maybe 5,000 square meters production warehouse. We were these simple processes, we were just only type of goods, for example, only finished goods, or full pallets only, and no complex integration involved there. Medium, something a little bit more complicated in terms of space, in terms of processes, in terms of integration. And the large warehouse, the complex warehouse, is usually, like mostly, it's a real retail distribution center, because for the retail warehousing is the tools they're using to compete with other companies. And the process is much more complex, lots of cross-dock processes, some kind of value-added services, complex integration, so on. So just to have this vision in mind, let's move forward. There is a table here, and this table shows how it doesn't show how presentations shouldn't be made, because when you see this big table here, you just start reading it, and that's something you should not do, because the idea here is that you have bunch of such tables in the internet. You can Google it and find the different ways how people create them. We are not here to go line by line, because that wouldn't give us the clear pictures of what's the difference between these solutions. To have the clear picture and how to understand how you can substitute them, please, in your mind, we should go one by one, talk about each of them, and that would help us to understand how to distinguish them. And this is the first part. And second part, we will send it, I think, afterwards for everybody who needs it. And you can then yourself do some comparisons in terms of the lines wise, in terms of different functionality. But that's not the point, because it's like this today. In 1 year, it would be different, probably. And that's not something we're going to do in this meeting. Okay, so the first one is, let's call this classical warehouse management solution, which, as I already said before, grew from SAP MM module, which is comparing to inventory management, has more functionality in terms of having your stock allocated to different bins, because on the level of inventory management, you have it only on the storage location level. If you want to really go deeper to understand in which bin you have something, which is the purpose of having warehouse management solution actually, you need this part of functionality. You need some possibility to create movements in the warehouse and to distribute these movements to resources who then will confirm them. You need some planning and monitoring tools. You need some possibility to connect to some kind of warehouse control stuff. And you need to have RF radio frequency devices integrations, because real warehouse, it's not always comfortable to bring a laptop with you to confirm the tasks. Of course, better have a handheld device. So this is like an average scope of warehouse management solution, which was a part of LE warehouse management with some additions. And in this is quite suitable for small warehouses. And I know that I have seen lots of clients who still running this solution and fully satisfied. Yeah, you know, there's hundreds of them. But the thing is that because like whole world moving to S4HANA, it wouldn't be possible to use this as a, now it's the part of S4HANA in some kind of compatibility mode, so you can use it as an S4HANA. But in few years, firstly it was 2025, now it's 2027. Nevertheless, maybe they will move it a little bit on the right. But what SAP is saying that it shouldn't be used as a strategic warehouse management solution in S4HANA after some time. And of course, for some customers, there is a questions now what they should do, where they should move, and what they should actually do with the system, because no support and no new features anymore there. And what SAP is offering here, yeah, we still have the big lines of the different solutions. Let's go to the next one. SAP is offering, one of the solutions SAP is offering is stockroom management. It is like technically quite similar to classical one. It has the same technological stock. It has the same data model, mostly the same system objects. And it has S4HANA compatibility. It includes an S4HANA. It's also free of charge for the clients to use. No extra license required here, but it has some reductions. We can discuss why it's happened like this with SAP, but I think that obviously SAP doesn't want their solutions to be competitive to each other and wants to distribute it for different markets and different types of the warehouses. So this is something which fits to a really small warehouse, from where you can migrate from old EWM here, and it will be just kind of a technical migration with predefined tools, and that would be kind of a small, easy, not easy, shouldn't say that, small project. But the thing is that not everything which was before includes in warehouse management available in stockroom management. There's a list of functionality which is not there. What's important here, everything is important, but what's more important here that this solution couldn't be decentralized, it couldn't be connected to other ERPs than SAP, and also it doesn't have such things which warehouse are always using, like wave management, yard management, maybe, and of course, task and resource management part. So if there is a small warehouse where you need only understand what's in which bin and somehow to have it in the system, this solution fits. If your process is a little bit more complex, there is another solution. You should go to EWM, and there's like different types of EWM. We already discussed that we have EWM on the same platform, and we are not going to talk about it here because I'm not even sure that you can buy license for it from SAP right now. I'm sure you can't. Let's just talk about modern solutions which is on the market. And the first one, which I mean, functionally wise, quite close to stockroom management, is embedded basic EWM, which is embedded in S/4HANA. It also doesn't need separate licensing. It's also part of S/4HANA, so it could be switched off and for free. And it's kind of modern solution with modern objects, and SAP will support it, will provide new features there, but it has not everything which is required from the warehousing is included actually there. So it's kind of a simplified version of warehouse management solution for small warehouses. And as far as we have both of them here on the screen, in terms of moving from LE, warehouse management solution, to one of these, SAP provide some tools to migration for both of them, and it also could be counted as technical migration, but of course the data models are different in EWM, and if client has some complex customizing which involves some system objects which wouldn't exist anymore, some redesign of this stuff is definitely required. And now we are moving forward to next solution, which calls advanced EWM. Yeah, now we can look on the table and see that it has lots of different things inside which wasn't included in basic EWM. And this solution needs separate licensing. How SAP is counting this, of course, it's better to ask from SAP. The main idea here that it depends on the demand for the warehouse, for the whole complex of the warehouses you have, how many positions on the deliveries you have. If you have between some kind of predefined limit, it's like one price. If you have more, it's another price. So it doesn't depend that much of amount of warehouses you have, but it mostly depends on the amount of deliveries and actually goods you are receiving and sending from the warehouse. What is important difference here? The first one is that it could be connected to different EWMs, the different ERP systems than SAP ERP itself. Second one, it has lots of optimization tools, like it's possible to create waves for optimal distribution of the picking distributions of optimal sorting and connection of picking tasks. It's possible to use yard management. It has complex retail processes like cross-docking and something connected to this. And also, yeah, it could be connected to multiple ERP systems. And the second solution, which is quite close to the previous one, and we cannot really say that it's a different solution, but I just put it here, just also for us to keep it in mind that EWM could be as a part as S/4HANA, even advanced EWM. Basic couldn't be as advanced EWM, and EWM could be decentralized, so it could run on different instance, which is not S/4HANA instance, but another one. It could be only for advanced. Basic couldn't run on separate instance. Why it is important? Of course, they have some minor technical differences, but it's not the point. The point here, yeah, it makes some kind of part of the data the same, some synchronous ghost movement, for example, but it's not the point. The point here is that when you are building your warehouse infra architecture, your system architecture, you should take in account the way do you need a decentralized system, or they should be connected together, because requirements for warehouse management system and for ERP system little bit different. Yeah, if in terms of, for example, in terms of, for example, performance. Yeah, if ERP system generates the delivery for 2 seconds instead of 1 second, for example, is okay, we can live with it. But if the warehouse tasks being created not for a half of the second, but for 2 seconds, and we have some kind of the wave where we have thousands of the tasks which should be created, that could definitely stop the whole warehouse for a long time. And it's if you're talking about big warehouses with complex processes, it's a good idea to separate your systems performance-wise, second, maintenance-wise. So I think you don't really want that some upgrade in ERP system will stop your warehouse. And the second part is also availability of the system, because if central system will goes down, it's bad, but we can live with that. We can, I don't know, create deliveries later. But if warehouse management system goes down, we cannot do anything on the warehouse. We can't even move the stock, because when the system will begin out of the system, because if it will go back, it wouldn't be almost impossible to put all data what happened in the system. And the last one, which I also put here, in which I also want to talk a little bit about, is warehouse management in S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition, which before was called as AWM Public Cloud, and before I don't even remember how it calls, because this naming sometimes changing, sometimes for SAP doing it, and this is like another separate solution, which is fully SaaS. It has their own roadmap. It has their own functionality. It's now less functional than, for example, basic EWM. Yeah, it has their own roadmap, how new features are being introduced there. And for example, I took part in the project of choosing warehouse management solution for one big beer brewing company, and we also were thinking about having public cloud solution. But at that time, like 2 years ago, there was no even RF functionality there. Now it is. And I think for the companies who believe in this kind of shared systems, shared warehouse management systems, and in this cloud approach with system as a service solutions, it's also could be an option, because it's been developing and has a really strong roadmap, and maybe it's also could be our future. Where are we moving? Okay, I think it's pretty enough with overview of the solutions we have now on the market. We're not gonna go deeply in the details. Let's go to kind of a experience sharing practical part, and maybe something I'm gonna tell you about would sounds obvious, but just from the first point of view, because if you go deeply, you will find something really interesting here about warehouse management implementation. So I'm trying just to compare this with average ERP integration implementation system, and I want to mention what would be the main points, the main differences between these two projects, which should be taken in account anyway if you are client choosing the way the system would be implemented, or you are working in the project teams and you are thinking about future projects, where to put your attention on. So there are like 3 pillars of warehouse process project complexity. The first one, like surprise, surprise, at warehouse, it's a warehouse, and it's all about the physics. I'm not, and all the processes should be designed the way it would be comfortable for real warehouse worker to execute them. I'm not saying about such simple things like if system asks you to pick up the particular pallet and you have a bulk bin and this pallet somewhere in the middle of the bin, you need to take everything to the corridor and it will stop like another resources who's using this corridor because you don't have the space here. I'm talking about this, of course, and more advanced things like, for example, usage of narrow aisle stakers where you have some kinds of the row where the stacker is going and it's blocking the whole row. And if you have the complex process where you have replenishment, where you have the picking, and for example, there is a delivery in which you need to pick everything just from one row, that could really stop for a long time because this row would be blocked by stacker. And to solve this, some advanced tools like process simulation is required because human brain can't hold everything inside, and some process simulation required, some digital twin even simulation. These are the tools which have to be introduced during the project design. And also it's important, of course, in terms of performance, because all the warehouse should work as a kind of a clockwork. Second part is that warehouse usually has complex integration scope with other systems like the hardware, of course, some kind of scales, I don't know, gates, robots, AGV, stuff like this, and some other systems. Not all of them have the proper test circuit. Not all of them could be tested properly. And this is also the point of attention. And the third one is that the warehouse is the core of the whole company. Logistics, it couldn't be stopped for a long time. And that reflects on the way how the planning should be performed. I even put the quote here that don't please try to automate some house. You wouldn't get anything about automated house. It's related to all of them. So all processes, everything should be clear, and integration teams, implementation teams should think wisely about what they're actually doing. I put like 10 lessons learned from warehouse implementations. And when I was like preparing it, I was thinking that it could be even maybe 50 or even more. So let's try it, but unfortunately we don't have time for that. Maybe we can have another session about it if it's interesting for audience. But let's start from something. The good also quote to keep in mind is that if something could go wrong, it definitely will go wrong, and that should be one of the that should be really taken in account during all the project planning. So throughout planning is important, that it should clear project objectives should be defined, clear scope, clear deliverables, detailed project plan, not only from IT side but also from the business side, of course. That all the stakeholders should be engaged as early as possible in this planning process. I mean, of course, I mean the project planning, but IT planning, but also business planning, because volumes for the warehouse should be reduced during the go live, and they should not be reduced the way that, for example, for first week we have 30% of demand, but other weeks, because we need to catch up everything we missed before, it should be like 200, because after 2 weeks there still be something which is not solved, and that would really influence badly on the whole project and whole life what's happening. That's kind of a heroism here, like everybody wants to be heroes, but that's not something we want from the warehouse implementation, because the heroism is kind of literally said is kind of the journey through the challenges and the setbacks, you can say so. And it's better to have calm, planned go live instead of everybody being heroes, working extra hours, sleeping on the warehouse. That's not the aim of something we are looking for. Engagement of the customer, of course, that should be executive sponsorship, that there is active support. You should be sure that there is an active support from the top management, that it helps securing necessary resources, that it helps resolving issues. And if something happening, you know the guy who will help you as an implementation team to solve everything, because he is really interested in this project and he believes in this, and this is really important. And by team involvement, I mean, also team involvement itself, that change management should be in place, that the communication should be proper, established, that user input is vital for understanding the business processes and requirements, that the guy, for example, who is responsible from customer side for the solution, he should be taken out of his usual duties and fully involved in the project, because in this situation when the system is already ready for the go live, and then we understand that something which is designed is not something we wanted to be, because the guy who was responsible for this was moving pallets for the whole year. This is a bad result. Data quality and migration, also crucial things, because sometimes we have old, let's say, ERP system with some history, which has lots of data. Nobody knows how it works, what it has inside. And of course, if SAWM is system which requires data from ERP systems, like, for example, goods and some master data and stuff like this, it could be it could be tricky here, because we don't know what will be transferred from one system to another, and if some issues happening on the interfaces, it's good idea to look precisely what's happening, why it's happening, what is this data, because everything could be okay in test. Sometimes test systems, they are really different from the productive system, and if you have some issues with test data, you would definitely have more issues than later with the productive data. And also close here, these points connected, customization with standardization, that I understand that sometimes some customization is necessary, but after some years of experience, I am completely sure that SAP knows better how to make warehouse processes than the SAP really knows better. And system design itself quite good, and the processes which is in the system, which is aligned to SAP best practices, they are quite good, strong, and clear. So excessive customization definitely leads to increased complexity. Somebody has to support it. Some mistakes can appear here, and it's good to be close to standard as possible. For example, I don't know, adding some button, some not necessary check in the process because for some reason customer decided so that's been required here, could also stop the whole complex processes just because we decided to do it like this. From the implementation team, it's important to have power to challenge requirements, to offer something else. And here I want to put attention that a rolling consultant should, of course, it's like IT guy, but he also should have some knowledge of the business, some understanding how it works, to have this option to bring in his own vision and to explain the customer why it should be done the way SAP designed this and why it's the proper way. And sometimes it's good to be kind of technology agnostic. Not, for example, if SAP introduced some new feature like Fiori apps and so on, it doesn't mean that we should bring everything to Fiori apps just because it's appeared. We should think a little bit forward. What do we really need? So being technology agnostic is also important. And the next one is about testing. obviously testing is required, but because we are talking about warehousing, that means that testing should also be close to real physics. And to do this, there are tools which could be used. For example, the part of the warehouse could be under, even before real implementation, the part of the warehouse could be like in the test mode, connected to the test system for the real warehouse workers trying to do some processes there and to understand are they satisfied with it, because when you're pressing the buttons on the laptop, it's not actually the same or what happening in real life, and it's not that easy to actually understand the difference. This is possible, as we already said, some simulation, maybe creating the scalable model of the warehouse to move everything, and also testing the hardware, because hardware always the mess. Printing always doesn't work. Wi-Fi also always not that good as it's supposed to be. So testing hardware also the attention point, because you don't want to be in the situation, for example, when you test the real conveyor connected to a WM on, I don't know, some kind of the same sized boxes, and everything went smooth and was perfectly tested. But then in real life, you understand that the boxes have different sizes, and because of this, even in the production environment, things are going wrong. So tests with real physics, it could influence on the project planning, it could influence on the scope, it could influence of the estimation of the project, but it's just like it is, and obviously that's why. Scalability and future proofing. This is, we also mentioned a little bit when we was talking about which solution to choose, that we should really ensure that this architecture we are putting in the system right now would satisfy the requirements which will be in few years, because you don't want to have another implementation project in the few years. This is about solution, decision which solution to choose, and this is about the way customization should be done in the system. Yes, because if you are doing all customization the way SAP supposed if it should be done, so there's like no hard coding, no expensive requests to the database, not some things like this. Maybe during the first, if these requirements are not satisfied, in few years that could be some issues with power of the system itself. And I mean, also here, well, we're not that far from the testing. In my experience, we not that often have the stressed test part for warehouse management systems, because if you did the proper sizing, if there is the system not that much customized according to like idea number 5, and if all customizing done in right way, it's sometimes not necessary to have the stress test, because we would definitely spend much time creating the test environment, but the result wouldn't be that as we need. Another one is the post-implementation support, because like everybody likes to be the heroes during the go live. It's fun, I know. And post-implementation support, important part. It sometimes mostly depends on the customer to establish it, but the implementation team should help here, because the mistakes, the bugs, which is maybe not that high priority in the beginning, and you can do something manually, they are growing, and the volumes are growing. So sometimes I have seen the warehouses where everything was okay during the go live, and even in 2 months time was everything okay, but after like few months, workers the warehouse workers, they lost the trust to the system. They didn't believe the system helps them, that they only disturb them during the processes, and they started to do something out of the systems because of mistakes, because of the bugs, because of the change management. And even you can face the situation when the stock in the system are completely different from the real stock, because people are doing everything out of the system, and you need to have the second go live. So post-implementation support is wise thing to put your attention on. Project governments, to have like concrete people, a concrete guy who will solve, who is responsible, who understands what's happening, and who so the roles should be clear and responsibilities should be clear here. And like last but only also important one is the relationships with SAP itself, that vendor can leverage your expertise, can give support, can give some updates, and these healthy partnerships for ongoing collaboration is really important. Okay, the key takeaways from everything I've been talking about before. The first one is that solutions should be wisely chosen and with future growth and new requirements taken in account. And also the way system being implemented and customized also should be with taking this factor into account. Second one is that warehouse management implementation has its own specifics, which should be taken in account in terms of the project planning and in terms of estimation. And the third one is, I can say this, I really believe in it, that solution itself is perfect, but people sometimes are not. And that's why close collaboration, proper team change management is really important for the success of the project. So let's move to questions and answers part.
Yeah, thank you for insightful session. Yeah, we have some questions in our chat. The first question is, are there any known plans from SAP to replace the existing mobile solution, IFUI? I've only heard about separate Fiori applications for particular functions like pick by cut. If yes, what skill set will be required to customize this solution?
I cannot say that this is a strategy to replace ITS Mobile. What I can say here that starting from version 2021, we have mob GUI functionality, which is like well-known, which introduced the opportunity to use screen personas for screen customization. So you don't need HTML templates anymore. You can use screen personas for that. It also has its pros and cons, but it's like one of the ways. The second way is the Fiori itself, of course. And I think the third one is there is an application for iOS, which couldn't be customized and which is available only for public version of AWM, but maybe I think it would be also developed by SAP. And yeah, what I can add here from my side, like my understanding of this, my understanding is that the best interface for RF device actually is Telnet, because you don't, of course, there is a fashion where you need to compare some pictures, but in average warehouse processes, you don't need anything than just seeing where to go and what to confirm. And for warehouse workers, all these fancy pictures, not that important. I think it's mostly important in the pre-sale cycle to show that we have nice solution with some cozy interface, but in the real life, it I think should be as simple as it's possible, and RF ITS mobile functionality is pretty okay with that.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Could you elaborate on how SAP warehouse management solutions integrate with emerging technologies like Internet of Things, AI, to enhance real-time decision-making and operational efficiency?
I'm like the guy from the old century. Not believe in these new modern things. I also think this is sounds great in terms of the pre-sale cycle, but when you are thinking about real warehouse, about real functionalities and the processes where you can use it, I don't know, for the system to decide where to place the stock and for system to decide what is the, I don't know, proper way for the picker to pick some goods. There is enough. This logic is quite strict, and you do not really need this fancy stuff there that much. But in some cases, of course, you need it, and there's a wide options of customization for SAP itself, so it could be added, and even SAP right now are showing that they are working in this direction. But as for me, I have not yet really seen the perfect implementation of this technology for the projects, and that's why I don't want to promote it that much.
Okay, thank you. That was a tricky one, I think. Yeah, while you're generating your new questions, we encourage you to join our community on other social networks like Facebook, Telegram, LinkedIn, and of course, we're a community platform via the link in the chat. And we have one more question. How well do SAP warehouse management solutions integrate with other SAP systems or third-party applications? Are there any considerations or challenges when integrating with other systems?
There are different ways it could be integrated. Has different interfaces. It could be SAP SAP IPO could be used, or we can use even direct integration to EWM. It has some API for different system for to get some data to EWM, to send some data that's sometimes used for the mobile applications. This is quite a broad topic. I don't think we really have time on the discussions what are the crucial things here, which mistakes you can get, and what are the challenges here. If like audience interested in this part, we can make the separate session about this. And also what I wanted to ask you guys, if there is something you want to hear from me about warehouse management implementation processes, about the supply chain modules of SAP, please don't be shy. Put it down here in the questions and answer, and we will think how we can later talk about this.
Perfect, thank you. Let me check if, yeah, that's it for today. Colleagues, yeah, we're waiting for your comments. If you are interested in other topics related to SAP Warehouse Management Solutions, please, you're welcome to write your opinion in the chat. As already mentioned, our today's recording will be posted on our YouTube channel. The links to the recording will be sent separately. Igor, thanks a lot for an insightful session. And colleagues, thanks for your participation and have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.